You know me, SDMT. We gotta get to this, man. We gotta get to it. But before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on my notifications, man. Jon Jones is going at it with Stylebender on Twitter, man. He's going crazy. He's snapping. He is just so thirsty for a fight with a smaller guy, man. What I'm gonna do is in this video, I'm gonna expose Jon Jones. I'm gonna expose, he's a bully, man. He's definitely a bully. He loves to fight guys smaller than him, and that's what he's been doing since he's been in the UFC. You know what I mean? Yes, he is the GOAT, I will say that, but how many times has he fought guys his size? Now, every time Jon Jones has fought a guy his height and his weight, he struggled. Whether it was Gus the first time, Reyes, so he's a 235, 240-pound man that cuts down to 205. And we look at Stylebender, who he's so, hyped to fight, who he mentioned first on TMZ as a guy he'd be interested in fighting, and Stylebender responded. He wants to fight a guy in Stylebender, Israel Adesanya, who is a skinny middleweight. His own fighters in his own division call him skinny, meaning that he is lacking size. So you want him to move up to 205 when he's a skinny middleweight? You know what I mean? That's funny right there. Jon Jones, who's a 230, 240-pound man who cuts to get to 205, we've never seen him bullied or manhandled because he's always bigger and stronger and taller than most guys he's fought. That's why he's, been reluctant to move up to heavyweight, because he's going to fight guys his size. Now, we look at Stipe. Jon Jones is taller. Fact. Stipe comes in around 220, 230. Fact. Jon Jones is saying that, he needs to take all these years to gain this weight to fight guys that come down from 265 to cut down to 265. Why doesn't Stipe need that? Stipe fights at 220, 230, so did Kane, and they beat these guys that come in 240, 250. It's just an excuse. Jon Jones beat DC, who DC was, pretty much undefeated heavyweight until he fought Stipe, one of the greatest heavyweights ever. So what's the difference between DC and Jon Jones? DC has more courage, and he has more balls, straight up. You know what I mean? Jon Jones has built his name and his GOATness on fighting guys he's taller than, he has a longer reach than, and, he's just stronger than, straight up. You know what I mean? We look at Jon Jones, he's a beast of a 205er. He's the bigger, stronger man. He's been going at it with Izzy, trying to call him out and trying to get a skinny middleweight to move up to fight a guy that's 40 pounds heavier than him. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. And I do want this fight to happen, but I definitely understand Stylebender wanted to take some time, keep building his name, and gaining some weight. We look at Jon Jones, man. Jon Jones is huge. Like, don't let those skinny legs fool you. Even DC said Jon Jones would have a huge advantage when it comes to strength. So when there's, grappling and wrestling involved, Jon Jones would definitely have a huge advantage over a skinny Stylebender. We already know that. What did Costa say? Skinny. So this is a guy that's a skinny 185er. He's even weighed in at 184 for his other fights. We look at Jon Jones. He's tipping the scale at 205, but after he, gets hydrated, he's hitting the ring at 225. You know what I mean? So there's a huge weight advantage, and Jon Jones knows that. And he knows this is a huge fight with a guy that's, a hot up-and-coming fighter that he has an advantage over when it comes to strength and size. Jon Jones said that I would just take you down and, elbow you and, submit you. So he's pretty much saying I would use my strength advantage and my grappling advantage, because I know I'm a lot stronger than you, to beat you. He hasn't said I'll outstrike you. He hasn't said I'll stand up and kickbox with you. You know why? Because he knows he'd be at a disadvantage, and he wouldn't do that. Jon Jones is very smart. He's very, cerebral with, his matches and, how he goes into fights. And he knows that in a striking match with Stylebender, he would lose. Period. We saw him get pieced up by Dominic Reyes. And Dominic Reyes isn't half the striker of Israel Adesanya. That is fact. We already know this man has over 100 kickboxing fights. 100 fights, overall. So we got to look at this. And Jon Jones is thirsty. I think he thought that DC would try to get one more big money fight and fight him again, but DC left. Now Jon Jones is left without a big money fight. We look at he kind of flirted with the Francis fight because he believes he can wrestle Francis, and Francis, does showed, a chink in his armor with his wrestling in his fight against Stipe. So Jon Jones feels like he could take advantage of that. So we look at that fight. He was expecting huge money. Dana White didn't do it. So he kind of like, he's been sitting around looking for a big money fight. And then he sees Stylebender win, and he starts tweeting us about Stylebender. This whole thing started about Jon Jones. That's the thing that kind of annoys me about Jon Jones. He wants to play the victim, like, oh, they keep mentioning me. Actually, Stylebender won his fight, and you tweeted about him. And he responded. That's a fact. He didn't say Jon Jones during the fight. You know what I mean? So it's the thing where Jon Jones is thirsty, man. He's begging for this fight to fight a smaller guy for a big payday. That's what this is all about. And that's why Israel Adesanya is really smart. And he says, I'm not going to let you Canelo me. Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo on his come up, not when he was at his peak of his greatness. It was very smart by Floyd to take that fight at that time so he can beat him, have that name on his belt. But that wasn't the best Canelo at that time. You know what I mean? So, Israel Adesanya, he's still growing as a UFC fighter. He hasn't been in MMA as long as Jon Jones. We look at Jon Jones, he's been in MMA almost a decade, and he's flirted and he's teased heavyweight. He's teased, oh, I would fight Kane. I would fight Stipe. I would fight. And he's never done it. He's never done it. Like, he teases it because he knows he's going to get clicks. He's going to get attention. And his fans, which I used to be one of them, but I just got tired of it. It's like, bro, if you're going to move up, move up. You know what I mean? Like, just move up. You have the skills to do it. You have the height and the weight, but it comes down to it's a bigger risk. Jon Jones knows heavyweight is a bigger risk. He doesn't want to lose, and he doesn't want to lose his GOAT status. And it's that simple. It's that simple. He knows those guys have the power to touch you, and if they touch you, they can put you to sleep. Period. You know what I mean? Jon Jones isn't stupid. He knows who he matches up best against. You know what I mean? And that's kind of why he, may have, kind of avoided another fight with, Reyes, knowing that Reyes was a taller, solid striker, solid athlete that gave him a run for his money. So when he fights these taller, bigger guys, he struggles. We've seen it. We've seen his biggest struggles have been guys around his height and around his same weight. So if he goes up to heavyweight, oh, I'm going to fight guys at 265. Who are you fighting at 265? Who? Like, most of the top guys are not that heavy. You may get to 240, but you're a 230-pound man yourself. You know what I mean? So Jon Jones is, he's definitely, he's smart, and he's playing his game, and he's trying to get the fans everybody to push Stylebender to take a fight when he's a lot smaller than him, and he's not ready. He's still improving as a grappler, and we already know what Jon Jones' whole game plan would be, to take it to the mat, and he can use his strength advantage. I mean, you're a 235, 40-pound man, and you see a guy that weighs in at 184. Let's say he hydrates maybe 200, maybe 205. Even DC said maybe Stylebender's 205, maybe. You know what I mean? So we look at Jon Jones, he would have a 35 to 40-pound weight advantage. And he's scared to go against guys at heavyweight that would have, a 10, 20, maybe 25-pound weight advantage against him. You know what I mean? So it's total BS, man. I want you guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you biting on Jon Jones BS? Are you, are you falling for it? You don't see what he's trying to bully the smaller fighter into a money fight too early in his career? Or do you understand that, is he taking his time? He's the hottest MMA athlete outside of Conor right now, and it wouldn't be smart for him to take this fight right now when he has a huge, weight disadvantage, and Jon Jones is a better grappler right now. So, I have no problem with Stylebender taking his time, So let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'm out. SDMT!